Welcome to the deserts of Bahrain, where the Formula One circus has rolled into town. We're expecting the cars to appear out on track shortly.
Hi guys, it's your boy 15 Lauren here, and welcome to the second episode of my Road to Elite Assist Championship, where I will do a full...
A bit like a rubber out on track. Try to take it easy for a couple of laps.
Okay. Where I will do a full 100% F1 season without using any assists. He joined me today around the Bahrain International Circuit, a track that is renowned for being notoriously hard against the AI to compete at, as well as being one of my least favorite tracks on the F1 calendar. For everyone who wondered what my normal assists were, I will flash them up on screen right about now. As we are now about to finish our last lap of practice, going through the last corner, trying to stay away from the curb on the outside, running up to the line, opening DRS and finish practice with a 1 minute 32.666.
Quick look at the classification at the end of the session then. Here are your top three: Bottas, Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. That's it for practice then. We'll see you again soon.
So P19 it is, in practice. Not what I was hoping for, in all fairness. But as you can see, my times now, they were just getting better and better over the 5 laps I did, as I started to get a bit more confident around this track.
Okay, you should be able to get into the next qualifying session easily, so try to get a hot lap in early so we can save the tyres.
Jumping right into qualifying then, you can see the setup that I was using. Basically the same setup that I was using in Australia as well, but a bit less weighing because of the high-speed nature of this track. I was pretty confident, thinking I could get off Q1 with the soft tires easily, but as we're now coming up to set our time, it's only P6. Make that P7 with a 31.1, and a bit later in this session you can see that we are actually last place now. So I went out on the super softs with like 5 minutes left, and on my flying lap now you can see I'm already 1.7 seconds up on my previous time as we are heading into the last sector. Make that the last corner, trying to get a good run to finish our lap as good as possible, running a bit wide, 1.8 seconds up now. Opening DRS, it's P10 with a 29.3, taking nearly 2 seconds out of my previous time. And that was obviously enough to get me into Q2, although being still a second behind my teammate and P12 in a Ferrari can't definitely not be my target for the next races, but at least I advanced and got another shot to better my time. Qualifying 2 now as we set our first representative time, 1 minute 29.5, already 2/10 slower than what we did in qualifying 1, so this shouldn't be enough to advance to the last qualifying shootout, and indeed it wasn't enough. We are already P13 with like 6 minutes still to go, so we went out again, but unlike Australia, this time I made sure that I had enough time to set another lap. As we are now about to start set lap, again my fastest lap of the weekend, so we will stay on board for the full of it. 8th gear on the straight, coming up into turn 1, hard braking for the corner. Nice apex, get on the throttle early, try to get a good exit actually, but we still get a bit too much oversteer on the second phase of that exit. But we're already up 2/10, setting into turn 4 now. I struggled with the corner a lot over the weekend. I never felt like I was keeping the momentum well through there, as we're now going into the second sector, the fast right, then left, chucking the car from just one side to another, run a bit wide, which lost me like half a tenth. Now the next turn, a bit too much oversteer on the exit, which cost me like another half a tenth, so we are now only 3/10 up. Qualifying is complete as we head into turn 9 and 10, 2 corners that I absolutely love, but I'm just very slow through there without the ABS. Opening DRS for the backstraight now. Remember, we have to be like half a second faster to get into qualifying 3, and at the moment we're 6/10 up, so this should be enough heading into the left-right complex just before the third sector. Still 6/10 up. Now into the next corner, locking up a bit on the inside, doesn't matter now. The last straight, putting it up into overtake for the extra few hundredths of a second into the last corner now. Getting a good apex, a bit too much oversteer on the exit, still half a second up though. Opening DRS and it's P11. Once again, P11. So, P11 it is then. Just like in Australia, we can't quite make it into qualifying 3 because of half a tenth. But at least we can select our starting tire now, as I'm now comparing sector times to Grosjean, who just narrowly beat my time to qualify for Q3 himself. It's time for the race now.
It's time to head down to the track now for today's championship race. And I wonder, who's going to come out on top? There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, and Sainz, Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Perez, and Fernando Alonso. Vettel, Leclerc, Esteban Ocon, and Gasly, Magnussen, Van Dorn, Marcus Ericsson, and Brendan Hartley. Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Wow, another top 10 finish. Ferrari really puts a lot of faith in me to gain 1 position during that race. Thanks guys! Now let's see our strategies we have for the race. We could either do the 2-stop going supers, softs, supers, or we could do the 1-stop going from supers to mediums.
Okay, our system checks are good. We need to stay in formation and start bringing the car up to temperature, please. Get some load into the tyres and work the brakes. We want them nice and warm by the end of the lap.
Jeff, do you think this is my first ever Grand Prix? And that I don't know what I should do during a formation lap? Well, it's P11, it's Bahrain, the best track for the eye. Let's see what we can do. 5 red lights and away we go for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Getting an absolute start once again, immediately losing a position to Leclerc. As we head into turn 1, I'm getting pushed off the circuit a bit by Ocon and Leclerc. And speaking of Leclerc, we immediately tuck back behind him, trying to maybe make a move in turn 4. Trying to get back the position that we lost at the start. Now we're going up the inside of him, but I didn't really want to risk any front wing damage, so we just let him go for now. But by the end of the lap, we are just behind him once again, going through the last corner now, trying to get a good run on him. Hasn't really worked, has it? Obviously no DRS, as we're still on lap 1 still, but with rich and overtake as well as slipstream, I rate my chances to overtake Leclerc as we dive to the inside, locking up, nearly hitting Perez in front of us as well, as we get the move done. Ignore what you just saw there. And by the end of the same lap, we are now directly behind Perez and back in our starting position of P11, trying to keep behind and maybe make a move even before the main track, as we're getting a pretty good run onto the second bags. We're using a lot of fuel as well as ERS to make a move into the last corner already, but we think better of it. Meanwhile, Perez misses the apex of the last corner, so this should really be our chance now. Hot lap and bridge is engaged as we go side by side on the straight and into the braking zone now. I'm a bit cautious, but we should still be able to make the move stick, and we do so to now be in the first points paying position. Next up is the Haas of Romain Grosjean, who we had a bit of an altercation with during the Australian Grand Prix, if you can remember, so I hope there isn't that much touching and blocking involved this time, as I'm actually this time the one who misjudging the corner, doing the same mistake Grosjean did in Australia, nearly hitting him out of the track. Cost me a bit of time, but we are already saving ERS for the straight as we hold back into the last corner once again. Just to better our action, and I think it might have worked this time. As we're already gaining, DRS is activated, we tuck to the inside, and it's a
Distance to the leader is 8.5 seconds.
a pretty easy move to get into P9 now in this race. And next up is Fernando Alonso. And at this stage of the race we just had incredible pace, so much so that by the end of the same lap we are already in striking distance to overtake Fernando Alonso, maybe even into the last corner this time, or maybe even before the last corner, as we are now side by side and we've already cleared him before the braking zone. The Ferrari engine seems to be working well against the Renault engine, and I was keen to show my pace at this stage of the race. As I'm now opening DRS right behind Carlos Sainz, we tuck to the inside, and with the help of Rich and overtake we get past him way before the braking zone. The pace of the Renault doesn't seem to be that good in a straight line, and now the next car ahead is Nico Hülkenberg, so we shouldn't really have a problem to overtake him in a straight line as well, although it took me a few laps to close up to him. Now he goes defensive into the last corner. We think about maybe making a move around the outside, thinking better of it though. Doing the switch back onto the start finish straight, our top speed against Sainz was incredible, so that we are now going to open DRS once again, rich and overtake as well, as we actually get past him even before the finishing line. So it's now P6 by the start of lap 7, and in front of us are now the two Red Bulls. But which one are we now going to challenge?
Ricardo ahead, gap to car in front is 3.7 seconds.
So the gap to Ricardo in front is about 4 seconds. We will get to that battle in a short while, but first let's take a look back at the start of the Grand Prix. You can just see how much time I lost at the start again. Similar to last time out in Australia, we are just immediately on the back foot against the competitors around us. And now into turn 1 I had just nowhere to go besides the curb on the outside there at least. Getting back the past Ocon just dived us into turn 1, but that cost me time. Time that I made up over the course of the first lap to open up a gap behind us and, more importantly, catch Charles Leclerc and overtake him on the main straight as well with just pure slipstream and rich fuel mixture. We went to the inside of him, into the braking zone, and get the move done pretty easily. I mean, after all, he's just in a Sauber. I also wanted to showcase the overtake on Grosjean in the Haas. Just to show you that defensive driving sometimes is just the way to go. I could have gone up the inside of him into the last corner, but I thought better of it. Getting a better run onto the straight and overtake him there without any risk of losing my front wing end plate. And then of course there is the beautiful double overtake a few laps later on Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz. You can just see how early on the straight we are gaining on him, and it's just all down to raw engine power, and we crucially clear him before the braking zone so that we can take a good line through the corner. And I can't quite remember if Sainz just had a bad run or if I really were that fast in a straight line. But we also completely cleared Sainz before the braking zone, closing up to his teammate already. And speaking of his teammate, we tried to go around the outside of him into the last corner, then doing the switchback, which I felt like was the right decision, and then again showcasing our amazing straight line speed, overtaking Hülkenberg on the start-finish line to be up into P6.
Ricardo is ahead of you. Our gap to the car in front is 4.0 seconds. You're dropping back by around 0.2 each lap.
Cutting on a few laps later now, we are still 4 seconds behind Daniel Ricciardo, and we can't quite close up the gap to him. But he is closing up the gap to the car in front of him, which is his teammate, Max Verstappen. He's now incredibly close to him, and he will 100% have DRS to maybe try and overtake Max into turn 1. DRS is open, he's gaining on his slower, soft tires. They are side by side now, heading into turn 1, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel Ricciardo just overtook Max. So now it's Max who's around 4 seconds in front of us. But in saying that, on the next lap, he is attacking Ricciardo again to gain back the position he's just lost to him. Slipstream and DRS, as I think he will tuck to the inside to re-overtake Daniel Ricciardo to be back up into P4. And I can just imagine how Christian Horner's foot is twitching all over the place. As Ricciardo now tries to go around the outside of Max into the last corner on his super softs. Max super softs still seem to have the grip advantage on Daniel Ricciardo, but with the help of DRS, Daniel Rick goes out side by side with his teammate to re-overtake him. And this is turning into a hell of a lot of battle. And the next lap, Max is again forcing himself around the outside of Daniel, but again they just clear each other before the braking zone. And these are just back-to-back laps that I'm showing here since the start of the battle, and their battling just allows me to close up so much to them. As Ricciardo once again opens DRS, this time he's further away, so I don't think he should be able to clear him before the braking zone. Again, going to the inside of Max, he tries to defend, and they start touching now into the corner. At Max first glance tried to hold it around the outside, and maybe now trying to re-overtake Daniel once again into turn 4. So into turn 4 they go side by side, but at this stage Max's supers seem to have lost the edge over Ricciardo's softs. But once again into the last corner, the two Red Bulls are side by side. Max trying to overtake, can't quite make it stick. This costs him a good run onto the straight as well, but it doesn't really matter as he's already back past Daniel Ricciardo. And again, this just allows me to catch up so much. And by the end of the next lap, Max is pitting, so their battle is now well and truly
Ricciardo
over.
ahead, gap to car in front is 2.7 seconds. We're gaining.
So 2.5 seconds still between me and Daniel. I thought I would have closed up a bit more, but their battles were mostly on the straight, so I didn't cost them that much time. In the meantime though, Kimi and Lewis have pitted as well.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
So I'm now up into P3, and I should pit this lap, which put me on the soft tires and therefore on a 2-stop strategy. But again, I thought I would switch it up a bit, be a bit more of a team player, so I stayed out on pretty worn super soft tires at this point to be a bit of a wingman.
2 seconds.
Maybe try backup Lewis into my teammate and then essentially do a 1-stop onto the medium compound of tires. So by the start of lap 18, Lewis caught up to me, and you can see I tried to be a bit of a roadblock as long as Kimi would need to close up the gap. You can just see him in the background of some of those shots. But Lewis had other plans with this only 3-lap-old super soft against my very worn out super soft. He sees his chance to overtake me around the outside heading into the large sector. Although getting onto the curb, he had much better traction, but not quite enough to clear me. As we're still side by side, and I actually retake my second place in this race with a bit of a dive bomb, I must admit, but we didn't touch, and I should have probably left a bit more space. And now my teammate is about to overtake Lewis for the essentially lead of the race, and he actually got past him into the braking zone, which we just completely muck up, went way too deep, and that just allows Kimi to get past me already. Now my job is to just hold back Hamilton and Bottas as well as we jump on board. Hamilton is directly behind us now on our inside into turn 4. I can tell you that super soft felt like shit. As Hamilton just flies past me into the corner, I have just nothing to fight with, as we now have to look more behind than in front of us, because there's Valtteri Bottas trying to overtake me as well. As we cut back onto the same lap, just look how much time Kimi and Lewis already took out of me. Now Bottas getting past me, slight contact is made. I'm trying to not give him any slipstream now, but he will have DRS. So I shouldn't really have a chance to hold him back into turn 1. We go very defensive. Now on the brakes, try and hold it on the inside. But we sadly make contact once again with Valtteri Bottas, who nearly spins us out there. But our job is well done. And these tires were just absolutely dead, so it shouldn't be a surprise that by the end of the same lap, lap 20, we come in for our one and only pit stop.
Into the pits we must go. Yo.
I don't know where this just came from, but let's just hope for a good pit stop. Remember, medium tires to the end of the race. And during my outlap I really started to regret the decisions that I made during this race, because the medium tires were incredibly slow. Case in point, Kevin Magnussen is about to overtake us and demote me into position
The gap to
13.
the car behind is 3.2
Yep.
seconds.
13. So over the course of the first 22 laps, we lost 2 positions. That's a bit embarrassing, but at least a lot of the midfield runners have to make another stop, as we see another replay of Magnussen's overtake on me. And yeah, so at this stage we couldn't even compete with the Haas. And over the course of the next 10 laps, the mediums started to heat up a bit, so I was able to close up the gap to Fernando Alonso, who got passed by Magnussen a few laps earlier. But now, when we get a bit closer to someone and we might have a battle with them, they pit. But yay! We are back into the points, boy! And now also catching up to Magnussen, whose soft tires seem to lose a bit of grip. I just hope he doesn't pit like Alonso just did. And we open DRS, tuck to the inside, and get the move done pretty easily to be now back up into position 9. Now it was lap 34 or something of the race, and I gotta say I really struggled at this point. My concentration went down and down, and I made a lot of more mistakes than before, although only being at like locking up my tires a bit, as Magnussen actually tries to go around the outside into turn 4, but he can't quite make the move stick. But as I was saying, there were more mistakes than before, and I just lost a lot of race time during this period. But now that people are pitting again, we gain positions to now be in position 7, make that position 6. Shut up, Jeff, I'm talking. But yeah, from this point onward, nothing much happened. After making a stop, Perez closed up to us and actually got past me heading into the fast left-right. This is around lap 40, so there are still 15 or so laps to go. As we head into the third sector, actually we slide into the third sector with a big old drift on the exit there. But we still can keep behind Perez to maybe try and re-overtake him onto the straight. Perez actually locks up a bit, gifting us a good run onto the main straight. We are already side by side before DRS was even opened. And yeah, it shouldn't be a surprise that we get past him here, as Jeff wants me to pit again, but this is not happening, bro. We lock up, but Perez can't quite get past again. A few laps later, it's now Carlos Sainz who tries to overtake me. He goes around the outside into turn 4. A lot of people tried this move, but no one made it stick so far. But it seems like Sainz just mugged me there. Now he's up into 6th position, but we didn't give up this easily and dive down the inside, making heavy contact with Sainz there. I was just lucky that I didn't lose any of my wang. Now into turn 9 and 10, not really an overtaking opportunity, so we stick behind Sainz to get DRS on the backstreet straight. We don't have the best of runs out of there, but as we saw earlier in this race, our straight speed against Renault was amazing, so we go up the inside into turn 11, which opens up, but Sainz tries to switch back. We are already side by side once again, but he thinks better of it now. Now, lap 53, only 5 laps to go. Sainz is still trying to close up to me. Onto the main straight now, he opens DRS, he starts to gain on us, but again, we just have the engine power to keep him behind, as now sadly the leaders start to catch up to us. And so at the start of the next lap, can't believe I'm saying that, we get lapped by our teammate, who at least still leads the race. And it was just incredibly disappointing for me, being lapped in the second race of the season already. I was just devastated. And we did not only get lapped by Kimi. If you look to the top left corner, we get also lapped by Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, not much more to say really. Bit of oversteer there after 35 laps now on the medium tires. They were just completely done.
Okay, we need some
So,
energy harvesting.
lap
Reducing our
56,
rest deployment.
the last lap of the race. I'm weaving along the back straight. To be honest, I was just happy that the race is over. Bahrain is not one of my favorite tracks, and I'm really gutted that I got lapped. But what can you do? It's P6 in Bahrain. So, that was the Bahrain Grand Prix. P6 in the end, a lap down. Our teammate won the race, finished in front of the two Mercedes boys. And yeah, it's one of the best tracks for the AI. I didn't change the difficulty or anything, it was still 102. I think I leave it at that for the time being. Yeah, I don't have nothing much more to say. We will look in the driver standings in a bit. I just hope you guys liked it. If you did, please leave a like, maybe subscribe as well, and leave a comment again telling me what you think about my commentary, my editing, and just leave feedback. Criticism is I like if you give me criticism, to be honest, and I can grow from that. I can make my videos better in the future. So yeah. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Some awesome battling at the beginning. As we now look in the standings, our teammate overtook us with that result. We are now P3, 17 points behind, and now it's time to close those 17 points up.